What if I told you one of the most important crypto networks isn't actually a blockchain at all, and that it's run by some of the biggest companies on Earth, names like Google, IBM, and Boeing? That network is Hedera, and its token is HBAR. It uses a completely different technology under the hood. It can handle thousands of transactions a second for 1/100th of a penny, and it was built from day one for serious, real-world business use. Today I'll explain exactly what Hedera is, the unusual technology that powers it, what it actually does, and the role of the HBAR token. Let's get into it. To understand why Hedera exists, look at the headaches of traditional blockchains. Networks like Bitcoin and even Ethereum can be slow, expensive when busy, and in Bitcoin's case, hugely energy hungry. There's also a subtler, deeper issue. In a blockchain, miners or validators compete to add the next block, and they can hold real power, like choosing which transactions go first or get left out entirely. And when two blocks are created at once, one gets thrown away, and all the energy that went into it is wasted. For a casual user, that's just annoying. For a giant corporation that wants to run critical operations on a network, it's a deal breaker. Hedera was created to fix all of this at once: speed, cost, energy use, and fairness. And to do it, it threw out the blockchain itself. So what is Hedera? Hedera is a public network for recording transactions and running applications like a blockchain in its purpose, but built on a fundamentally different design called Hashgraph. It launched in 2018, created by computer scientist Lehman Baird, who invented the Hashgraph technology, along with his co-founder, Mance Harmon. The whole thing was engineered for one audience above all: enterprises, the big businesses and institutions that need a network fast, predictable, secure, and cheap enough to run real operations on. That enterprise focus is the thread running through everything about Hedera. But the real magic and the thing that truly sets it apart is how it reaches agreement. Here's how Hashgraph works, in plain terms. Instead of bundling transactions into blocks and chaining them together, every transaction is simply recorded as an event in a sprawling web. Now, how does the network agree on the order of everything? Through two clever ideas. The first is called gossip about gossip. Picture a rumor spreading. Each computer randomly tells a few others what it knows, and crucially, it also passes along who told it and when. Very quickly, every computer ends up with a complete picture of the entire conversation, including its full history. The second idea is virtual voting. Because every computer already knows that full history, they don't actually need to send votes back and forth to agree. They can each calculate what everyone else would vote instantly, on their own. The payoff is huge. Agreement happens in seconds. The network handles thousands of transactions at once. Nothing gets wasted, and no single player can secretly reorder or block your transaction. It also reaches the highest tier of security, meaning the network stays reliable even if some participants actively try to cheat. Now for the feature that makes Hedera genuinely unusual in crypto: who's in charge? Most cryptocurrencies are run by anonymous miners or scattered token holders. Hedera is governed by something called the Hedera Governing Council, a group of up to 39 major global organizations from different industries and countries. Names you'd recognize like Google, IBM, Boeing, and Deutsche Telekom. These companies run the network's core computers and vote on its direction. To keep things fair, every member gets an equal vote, no one can stay forever, and no single company can control or hijack the network. Now here's the honest tension you should understand. On one hand, having household name corporations running the network gives it enormous credibility and stability that anonymous networks can't match, which is exactly what big institutions want. On the other hand, critics argue that being run by a club of large companies makes Hedera more centralized than something like Bitcoin, which anyone in the world can help run. Where you land on that trade-off is a big part of how people judge Hedera. So what does Hedera actually do? It's not just for sending HBAR around, it offers a whole toolkit of services for building real applications. The first you might call a trust service. Any business can use Hedera to stamp data with a tamper-proof time and order, creating an unfakeable record. That's perfect for things like tracking a product through a supply chain or proving a document existed at a certain moment. The second lets companies easily create and manage their own tokens directly on Hedera, whether that's a stablecoin, a loyalty point, or a tokenized real-world asset like a bond. And third, Hedera supports smart contracts and is compatible with Ethereum, so developers can bring over apps they've already built. Put it all together, and that's why you find Hedera being used for supply chains, payments, digital identity, fraud prevention, and tokenizing real-world assets, the unglamorous but genuinely valuable plumbing of real business. Where does the HBAR token fit into all this? HBAR is the fuel of the entire network, with a few main jobs. First, and most basic, it pays for everything you do on Hedera, every transaction and every service, costing tiny fractions of a cent. Second, it secures the network through staking. People lock up their HBAR to help keep the network honest and earn rewards for doing so. And third, it's used to power and incentivize the broader ecosystem of apps built on top. There's a capped total of 50 billion HBAR released into circulation gradually over time. So like the other tokens we've covered, HBAR isn't just something to trade, it's the working asset that makes the whole machine run. So let's tie it all together. Hedera is an enterprise-focused public network that ditched the blockchain entirely for a faster, cheaper, greener technology called Hashgraph. It reaches lightning-fast agreement through gossip about gossip and virtual voting. It's governed by a council of major global companies, and it offers a toolkit of services for payments, tokenization, and tamper-proof record-keeping. The HBAR token powers and secures all of it. And the honest reminder, because this is an educational channel, not a hype channel, understanding how a network works doesn't tell you whether its token is a good investment. Hedera's corporate governance is a strength to some and a concern to others, and like all crypto, HBAR is volatile. Nothing here is financial advice. It's here so you can understand it and do your own research with a clearer head. If this made Hedera and HBAR finally click for you, hit subscribe. I break down a different cryptocurrency every week. What it is, how it works, and what you actually need to know. I'll see you in the next one.